Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm excited to sit down and play with a brand new launch. This is a collection from Natasha Denona. So this is the new Golden collection. I have all three of the products in this collection, which is a plumping gloss, a highlighting trio palette, and then an eyeshadow palette. So I thought we would just do a first impression, tutorial, try on, swatches, and I'll give you guys my initial thoughts on whether I think this is worth it, who I think it would be best suited for, and if I think that any of these products are fails. So of course I will link these products down below as well as on the screen. And if you're new here, I hope you stick around and subscribe. If you're excited about this palette or you like first impressions on new products, give this video a thumbs up and let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so I always like to go over the product information before I get into the demo. So this is the new collection from Natasha Denona. It's called the Golden Collection. I did receive these products in PR. I was actually surprised because I do get PR from Natasha Denona, but lately it's been way after launch. So when this showed up on my doorstep, I was kind of in shock. I was planning to purchase this. So in this collection, you have an eyeshadow palette, a highlighter palette, and then you have a plumping lip gloss. So I wanna go over the products. Let's start off with the big daddy, which is the eyeshadow palette. This is super beautiful. When I opened up the box and saw this packaging, I thought this was a nice twist, something a little bit different for Natasha in terms of how this actually waves. It just looks really cool, almost like a metallic bar of chocolate. And it does have the standard midi packaging. Now her midi palettes are my favorites because inside you do get, I believe, 15 shades. And I feel like you just get such a nice variety. It's not too big, it's not too small. They're good for travel or good for every day. And I think the price point is a little bit more attainable than, let's say, like her large palettes. So this palette is the Golden eyeshadow palette and it retails for $69, which I will say inflation is getting a little crazy. Now this is described as a new and elevated 15 shade version of Natasha's iconic gold palette and her signature formulas. So this is actually inspired by the gold palette, which I do have, and I'm gonna show you some comparisons. You do have repeat shades, and I did swatch them next to each other. They are the same shades. I saw some like subtle differences in terms of the formula. Feels like the new palette just swatched a little bit more smoothly, particularly the matte shades, which doesn't surprise me because this is an older palette. I'm sure she has tweaked her formula over the years just to make it more smooth, blendable, and all of the things. So in this palette, you have 9 repeat shades. So here is the original gold palette, and then you have the new golden palette. So you can see the packaging is completely different, but also the shades are a little bit smaller and the names are actually on the palette itself, which I like. This one, it's on kind of like this flap, and it's just honestly really annoying. You don't have the teal shades in this new palette, but in place of the teal shades, you do have 6 new shades that are just neutral overall. So this is definitely a warm palette. It definitely has that gold look to it, gold bronze, but it's a neutral palette. There's browns, there's golds, there's creams, so you're not gonna get like any colorful looks with this. I actually like it more in person than I do in the promo shots. I do feel like in the promo shots, they're really leaning into showing obviously the gold shades, but if you were to cover up just those 2 golds, everything is just very like bronzy, but a little bit lighter. So I think this is really, really pretty. And I know some people could say it's boring, which I totally get, but for me, I just like less eyeshadow as I've gotten older. And I also just feel the best in neutral colors. That's just my personal preference. So I'm excited to get in and play with this palette. Now let's jump into the highlighting palette next. So this is the Golden Highlighter Trio. This packaging is so cute, and this is $55. I have to say, when I saw that, I was a little taken aback. Like, that's a lot for 3 highlighters. I just don't know if I feel like any highlighting palette would be worth that, other than I would say like the Dior Backstage, because I've used that for literal years. I don't know. I'm kind of curious about this one, but the price I thought was a little bit over the top. So this is a glow highlighter palette with a hydrating formula that features 3 high foiled finish golden shades for all skin tones. So inside you do have 3 different shades. It looks like we have more of a icy tone, more of a light gold, and then a bronze tone. The thing about these kind of palettes is the fact that I probably will not be able to use the bronze tone, and people that use the bronze tone will probably not be able to use the light tone, except for like on their eyes. But then you have the palette that has like a ton of shimmers. So I just don't know. The price on this was a little bit over the top for me. I have kind of high expectations for that price point. And then the last product in the collection is the Natasha Denona Golden Glimmer Gloss. Now this is supposed to be plumping, and you will see from my swatches that this left my skin red, which is pretty typical for lip plumpers because they do have like cinnamon or something in them to really get your lips irritated and plumped. But this retails for $29, which I thought was a little bit steep as well. Packaging looks cute. It's nothing over the top. And in terms of the smell, I don't think I smelled anything. It smells a little bit cinnamony. Yeah, it smells a little bit cinnamon-like. You can just tell that this is going to burn. So this is a sheer oil gloss formula that illuminates with golden sparkles, creating a luscious, plumped looking pout with mirror-like shine. Now, all of these products are cruelty-free, and they all are made in Italy as well. So of course I will link them down below, but I wanna go ahead and zoom in and start applying. I wanna start off with this gloss serum, gloss oil. I'm nervous, and when people say they're nervous, it's because I just really am not into the plumping glosses anymore. It's funny because when I was younger and I didn't have any lip filler, I was all about it. I could not get enough of the plumping products, but I think now that I've had lip filler for so long, I don't need it. Therefore, I've gotten used to not having that pain. And the fact that this left my arm like raw and red, I just know this is gonna tingle. I can smell the cinnamon in it as well. So let's see what kind of color payoff we get. I know it's clear. I don't know why I just said that. I was talking more about the gold glitters, which they seem to be pretty, I guess, subtle. I don't think it's anything over the top. Formula, ooh, I can just smell some sort of like cinnamon or cayenne pepper or something. I like the shine on the gloss, and I like the way that it feels. It's kind of one of those that's not sticky, but it's not super thin where I feel like it's gonna be sliding all over. I'm starting to feel the little prickles in my lips. So we'll see as time goes on. You can already see how my lips are like getting super red. So we'll see how this goes. So far, it doesn't feel bad at all. So I feel like it's pretty mild, but let's just see if it intensifies. So I wanna zoom in now and start on an eye look with this palette. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start off with the shade Flesh. I just want to use a fluffy brush and blend this into my crease. I did set my base, but I'm going to try to focus this on the outer portion mostly, and then blend into the crease and out a little bit. So just taking my brush and sort of sweeping out. Okay, so now I'm taking whatever's left over, and I'm just sweeping this kind of in the inner corner of my crease and then up to the brow bone. And I found that blending up into my brow bone, it just feels like it balances the blend a little bit better for me. And I can always go back in with a lighter shade if I need to clean up anything. Okay, next I'm gonna go into Teak. And I wanna use this to add dimension, but I'm gonna keep it low. So far, I'm not having any issues. I do tend to love the Natasha formula, and I just love her midi palettes. They're some of my favorites. Like her I Need a Nude was my favorite palette she's done. Again, it's just so wearable, and the shades are just so beautiful. This kind of reminds me of a just like gold version of that. I'm also gonna take a little bit of Teak in the inner corner. I've just been liking this halo shape on my eyes way more than like a standard, just putting a shimmer all over the lid. I like how this sort of frames my eyes. So just doing that, and then I can go back in and just soften. So next I'm gonna grab a little bit of Milko, which is this creamy powder. It's supposed to be one of those that's kind of like a hybrid. So it has that like creamy feel to it. I just wanna use this to maybe calm down anything that got a little bit too heavy on the brow bone area. And then for the lid, I think I want to go in the center with Nubia. It just looks so beautiful. I feel like a lot of people are going to go in with the two like gold shades, but I'm just, you know, not really feeling that. I'm not so much into the, I guess, like yellow gold shades, which I'm glad to see that in the palette in person, there's only like 2 shades like that. So I don't feel like you have to use those type of golds. You can lean more into these really pretty like champagne and bronzy tones. So I'm just gonna apply that like so. This is a creamy shade too. It's got that beautiful like glitter to it, but it has a creaminess, so I'm not getting a ton of fallout. I'm also gonna dip into Alchemist. This one is a metallic, so it doesn't have the glitter that Nubia has, but I like to use shades like this to kind of ground a halo eye. So just use it on either side. And then if I go a little bit too heavy-handed, like I did here, I can just go back in with that brush that had the matte brown on it and just blend to bring back that halo. And then again, just jumping back into Nubia. Just make sure we don't lose that like beautiful sparkle. I can definitely tell that my lips are plumping, but I have to say I'm shocked that it doesn't hurt. It feels like a numbing sort of buzzing, but I thought it was gonna hurt much more, so I'm pleasantly surprised by that. But I wanna go ahead and add some liner to my look. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that quickly, and then we'll kind of decide which lashes I wanna use, and I'll do the rest of my makeup, and then we'll get into like finishing the eyes. I really wanna see how this comes together, but so far everything has blended really nicely. All right, so I went ahead and applied my liner. I am not having the best liner day. I struggled today and it was just driving me a little crazy. So we're gonna leave it there, but I'm gonna go in and use these false lashes that I got from Target. These are the Heavenly Light House of Lashes. So I have my glue on them and I'm gonna just apply these. Then we can move on to finishing the rest of my makeup, and then we can finish the eyes and try out that highlighting palette too. All right, so I did the rest of my makeup off camera. I will link everything that I'm wearing below. There's also a little birdie outside that is like singing its heart out. So if you hear that, it's just going a little wild right now. So I wanna finish off the eyes, and I'm gonna go in with my Nabla Cupid's Arrow. This is my favorite black liner. And I'm gonna take this all the way across, and then I wanna go in with a flat shader brush and just really lightly smoke that out. Going back into the palette, I am going to grab Log, and I want to use a really small pencil brush, and I'm gonna very, very lightly go over that liner and smoke pretty subtly. Grabbing a little bit of Teak, I'm going to use this to smoke out even more. And I'm bringing it to kind of meet where my wing is. I'm avoiding the center of the lower lash line because I want to put a shimmer there. And for the center of the lower lash line, I think I want to try this shade Kava right here. I don't know if it's gonna show up enough, but I am going to wet my brush, hopefully to help it adhere to the lower lash line. So I'm gonna try to apply this right to the center. I don't know if that's giving me what I wanted, so I'm probably gonna have to go back in with that Nubia shade. Yeah, let me go ahead and do that. I'm gonna go back into the Nubia shade. It's my favorite shimmer in this palette thus far. I just like the texture of it. It's really creamy, but I also like the pigment behind it. It's more of a like pink shade. And to tie everything together, I am going to use Flesh, and I'm just going to blend this under the entire lower lash line. Pretty lightly though, I just wanna tie those shades together. And I still feel like I want more of a pop on the lower lash line. I'm trying to decide, maybe I just need a different brush. I'm gonna try Nubia on a flat brush here. Yeah, that's definitely helping. Okay, so I think I'm gonna leave the eyes there unless I decide to add something right when I finish my makeup, but I feel like this is looking good. I just need to do the lips and the highlighter. So I wanna go in with this highlighting trio. Now this is supposed to be a creamy powder formula. So let's go ahead and swatch these. There's 3 different shades in there. I feel like this shade probably goes the most, but these look pretty intense. Just feeling them, they kind of remind me of like the putty highlighter formula from Jaclyn Cosmetics. Let's just kind of blend these out and see. Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna start probably with the middle shade, and if it's not too deep for me, then I will use that, and then we'll go in and apply the lighter one. So I'm gonna use a Sonia G Mini Cheek and just dip in. This middle shade is called Sun Glow. So let's just go ahead and see. Okay, so, that was the most anticlimactic thing I've ever seen. I'm not one to be like, oh my God, but maybe that shade just isn't working for me. I mean, it's there, but pretty subtle. I know she says that you can use your fingers. I don't know, something is not working for me here. So let's switch gears. Let's try out Pearl. And again, I don't know if maybe this formula, you need like a wet brush because it is like that putty. Okay, so this one's showing up more, but I kind of feel like it's one of those that's like sitting on top of the skin. That's not my favorite. I really like the powder formulas from Natasha. But I don't know, something about this is just sort of not wowing me. I feel like I'm getting a little bit of like speckled glitter look. Looks quite heavy and texture enhancing, which all highlighters are, but this one just sort of seems like it's not the most flattering. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not in love with that. I'm gonna go ahead and try it down my nose. I just definitely prefer the baked gelée type formulas. Let's go ahead and move on. I'm gonna go ahead and do my lips, and then we will finish off with the gloss. And then I'll kind of give you my initial first impression on these products, and we'll see what the finished look comes together and looks like. All right, guys, so I went ahead and finished the rest of my makeup off camera. I wanted to go back in to this palette and try with a different brush, just because my makeup is already done, so we might as well try it. I'm gonna jump back into the Pearl shade, and I'm using a Refer 33. I thought maybe something denser and more flat would work better, which I definitely think this does apply better than the initial brush that I used. But I still feel like this formula is just almost stripy or glittery. Let me zoom you in again. I mean, it's pretty, but not really one that kind of melts in. So you can definitely see that you're wearing a highlighter, which, I mean, we can kind of tell with all highlighters. But let me go ahead and grab some of this and just do a little bit on the inner corners of my eyes. I mean, I think it's beautiful, but I just do not think that I would spend $55 on this. I'm just saying, little spoiler alert. But let's go ahead and add on this Golden Glimmer Gloss. I just want to see how this looks on top of lip products. Although it is basically clear, just with a little bit of gold shimmer. It feels really nice on the lips. I'm curious to see how this feels over lipstick and other products, if it's like as intense or if I notice as much plumping. So let's go ahead and zoom out, and I want to give you my initial first impressions on the new Natasha Denona Golden collection. Starting off with the star of the show, the Golden eyeshadow palette. I was most excited for this, and I'm not surprised that this is the standout product to me. Now, I do have to say that if you own the gold palette, I don't know if this is necessary. Let's be real, no makeup is necessary, but you really only get 6 new shades in here and you have 9 repeats. So it's kind of one of those things that it just depends on how much you see yourself using these particular shades, and also if you like the cohesion here. That's kind of what I think stands out to me, especially with just all of Natasha's midi palettes. I like that this is going to give me a look that I know is going to be beautiful, I know is going to be flattering, I know it's going to be a neutral look. I can pull more gold if I want to, but I can also lean into these more bronzy and champagne tones to give me more of just like a neutral bronze look. I don't know if this is going to be the palette that you want to reach for if you like deep, intense, smoky eyes, or if you have a deeper skin tone. This is more of like an everyday glam type of palette. It's not as deep as some of the other Natasha Denona palettes, like the Glam palette or even the Bronze palette. This is more of like daytime appropriate that you can take to nighttime and get that like soft glam look. But saying that, I don't know if it's gonna give you enough depth if you have a deep complexion. Really, the 2 shades that are gonna give you the most depth are gonna be Log and then also Teak. So just keep that in mind. It may have been nice to see a black in here, but I do get, for aesthetically pleasing purposes, having all of these like chocolatey, bronzy gold tones really does look cohesive. I think that everything blends beautifully. My favorite shade has to be Nubia. It's just stunning on the lids, but you do just have different variations, some leaning more bronze, some leaning kind of like glittery and gold with that like green reflect. So do I think this is revolutionary in terms of the shade range? No. But do I think this is a neutral lover's dream? Someone like me that just likes to wear neutral shades 99.9% of the time? I do. I still prefer I Need a Nude just in terms of the colors, but I think this is beautiful for those of you that like the warmer, rich gold tones for every day. So I think it's beautiful. I had no issues blending any of it. It's going to give you relatively a similar look, so you're not gonna get 20 different looks out of this. I mean, pretty much everything you do is gonna end up looking like a gold, shimmery, metallic eye, but for my skin, these are the perfect shades. Now, moving on to the highlighter trio. I just am not impressed with this. I have to be honest. I think the packaging is beautiful, presentation is super pretty, but the price, even if these were immaculate, the price is just way too high in my opinion. Also, I just don't love this formula as much as some of the other Natasha Denona formulas. I think that I would only get use out of 2 shades, probably mixing them, and I just won't use this enough because I have so many eyeshadows. I'm not gonna reach into a highlighting palette to use this as an eyeshadow. I think that this reminds me of like a putty type of highlighter. Again, similar to the Jaclyn Cosmetics putty highlighters. They can be a little bit finicky. Think like a ColourPop texture, but a little bit more powdery. They just have that texture where some brushes aren't gonna pick them up, and on the skin, they just, I don't know, they just look a little bit too stripy or just kind of like specks of glitter. They don't have that smooth melt into the skin formula that I love. So this, unfortunately, is a pass for me. I just would not recommend it, especially with that high price tag. And to finish off, let's talk about the lip plumping gloss. So I like that this is shiny. I like the texture of it. It's not sticky, but it also doesn't feel like it's going to be slipping and sliding. I think that the glitter in here is really, really subtle, so it's pretty sheer overall. You're just gonna get like very minute specks of glitter here and there. The smell on this smells like it's going to burn. It has a little bit of like a cinnamon sort of smell. Now, I think this plumps well, okay? My lips were like red and really plumped up so well that if you apply it outside your lip lines, you are gonna have sort of like that clown lip that I had where it looked like I just had like red lipstick way outside of my lips. So just be mindful of that. In terms of the pain, I really don't think this is bad. I would say on the scale of lip plumping discomfort, for me this was low, but I did feel like a buzzing or kind of like a numbing sort of feel rather than just like the needle sort of feel or burning. So this kind of made me feel like my lips were just like numb overall. I do think it works, and I do think that if you are super sensitive, I would just not recommend any lip plumpers at all. But if you've tried like the Too Faced lip injection, this was not as uncomfortable as that, and I feel like it really did work. Like my lips feel large and in charge. So if you're looking for a plumping gloss, I do think this is really nice. And I like that it doesn't hurt. It just feels like a little bit of something's going on. So I think that's nice. That one surprised me. I was really anticipating not liking that, but I'm kind of surprised that I didn't love this. So those are my overall thoughts. I think it's a cute little collection. Of course, the eyeshadow palette just stands out to me, but I am a huge fan of her palettes. So I will link the products down below. I would love to know if you picked these up, if you bought 1, 2, or 3, and what you think about my look and how these products performed. I will also leave my code down below because it is now available on the Natasha Denona website. You can use my code to get 15% off. So I will put that on the screen and then link it everywhere it's available. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you picked this up, what your thoughts are, and if you're passing on it, I would love to know why. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here, I hope you stick around and subscribe. As always, thank you guys again so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.